Till this day, Julius Caesar is considered one of the greatest conqueror and politicians ever. Throughout the history, many rulers have been inspired by his legacy. Julius Caesar was born in Rome in 100 BC. He belonged to Julian family, which was noble but not rich. That family claimed to be a descendant of Julius, son of the famous Trojan prince Aeneas. Following the death of his father in 85 BC, Julius Caesar became the head of the family. His uncle Gaius Marius was engaged in a bloody civil war against his rival Sulla. Eventually Sulla won the war, and he ordered the immediate arrest of those who opposed his regime. Among them was Julius Caesar, but due to his mother's blood relation with Sulla family, he was forgiven but exiled from Rome. He served in the Roman army. Due to his success in the siege of Mytilene, which is part of modern-day Greece, and military campaigns in Bithynia, which is a part of modern-day Turkey, and his role in the suppression of Spartacus' revolt, he was awarded civic crown, which is one of the highest military award in Roman army. He also repelled recursion from Parthian Empire. Following Sulla's death in 78 BC, he felt safe to return to Rome. In Rome he was welcomed by proud and cheerful crowd. He ordered the ruthless execution of governors of conquered regions notorious for extortion and corruption. On the Mediterranean Sea he was abducted by some pirates. They demanded a heavy amount of ransom for his release, but Caesar asked the pirates to double the ransom just to show his self-pride. Throughout the captivity he maintained a superior attitude, because he promised the revenge of his abduction, but they made fun of him. Once he was released, in order to show his leniency, he hired some mercenaries to attack the pirates that had him abducted and killed them all. Once he was in Hispania, modern-day Spain, he encountered the statue of his ideal Alexander the Great, and he felt dissatisfaction as he realized that at Caesar's current age Alexander had brought the whole world to its knees while Caesar had achieved nothing. This motivated him. As time passed by, he climbed Roman government ranks. Finally, in 60 BC, he ran for consul in elections. His opponents were well known for corruption. Even one of his opponents bribed the other opponent just not to let Caesar win the election. But despite all of that, Caesar won the election. Same year he also organized First Triumvirate, also known as the Rule of Three Men, in which Caesar, Pompey, one of the best general of that time in Rome, and Crassus, one of the richest man in Rome, made an alliance which meant that nobody except these three would rise to power. This was made possible when Caesar married his daughters Julia to Pompey. Before that, Pompey and Crassus had some disagreements, but Caesar somehow managed to consolidate them. When Caesar became consul or head of the Senate, he implemented laws which were meant to help poor. Obviously he had some enemies who tried to obstruct his regime but couldn't do so. After 1 year his consulship ended and he was made the governor of Gaul, modern-day France, Luxembourg, Belgium, Switzerland, northern parts of Italy, and some part of Netherlands and Germany. At that time Caesar was in a lot of debt, so he chose to make some wealth by military adventurism. By that, some parts of Gaul were under Roman occupation. But the Senate feared that there were some Gallic tribes were migrating towards Italy and had a warlike intent. Caesar raised legions under his command. In reaction, Gallic tribes began to arm themselves. Although Gauls were talented fighters, their disunity made them an easy prey for Romans. Caesar conquered Gallic tribes one by one. He also invaded Britain because he had suspected that Brits had supported Gauls, but due to his poor knowledge about Britain he was repelled, but at the second time he made some gains in Britain. Therefore the disunity of Gaul costed them the destruction of their heritage. It was like this until a Gaul named Vercingetorix united tribes under his command and asked them to defeat Caesar. Gauls under Vercingetorix defeated Caesar's legions in the Battle of Gergovia. In 53 BC, Pompey's wife and Caesar's daughter Julia died. Crassus died in a failed invasion to the east. Therefore the triumvirate died. Pompey became the head of consul because there was no one left to oppose him. Despite all of these hardships, Caesar didn't give up. Caesar had his limits of military genius tested in the Battle of Alesia, which is known as one of the famous military engagement in history. In this battle Vercingetorix was in the town of Alesia with 60,000 men. Caesar built an 11-mile wooden wall around the town. He wanted the Gauls to starve and surrender, but Vercingetorix insisted on surrendering. Besides this, a large army of 250,000 Gauls belonging to a coalition of Gallic tribes was coming to help Vercingetorix. In reaction to this, Caesar built another wall surrounding the inner wall. At that time Caesar had only 30,000 and decided to fight till his last breath. Finally, both Gallic armies laid assault on the walls of their side. Roman ballistic missiles such as catapults and crossbows inflicted heavy casualties on Gauls. Caesar had reserved some of his cavalry outside the battlefield, which attacked the outside relief force. Finally, Vercingetorix surrendered. In this battle 12,800 Romans and 250,000 Gauls got killed and 40,000 Gauls became prisoner of war. In Roman-Gallic wars 1 million got killed and another million got enslaved. This was a remarkable victory for Caesar. This news spread to Rome and people appreciated his victory, while Caesar's opponents including Pompey were jealous of his success, so they referred Caesar's victory as a shame for Rome because war crimes were committed by Caesar's army and called Gauls as Roman allies. By 50 BC, Pompey announced the end of Caesar's governorship over Gaul and asked him to disband his army and surrender to Roman court. But Caesar insisted and crossed Rubicon River, which marks the beginning of Rome's civil war. Pompey got alerted and knew Caesar was coming to wreak havoc on Pompey and his allies. Caesar chased Pompey to Greece, and then their army encountered in the Battle of Pharsalus. Pompey outnumbered Caesar, but his soldiers were not as battle-hardened as Caesar's soldiers were. Caesar defeated Pompey when Caesar outflanked his army and Pompey escaped to Egypt. In Egypt, a civil war was going on between the pharaoh and his rebellious sister Cleopatra. So Pompey sided with the pharaoh, but he knew that Caesar was Pompey's enemy and was more powerful than Pompey. In order to gain Caesar's favor, he killed Pompey, but when Caesar came to know that the pharaoh killed Pompey, he became angry for certain reasons and sided with Cleopatra and won a decisive victory in the siege of Alexandria. Cleopatra became the queen of Egypt. Later, Cleopatra and Caesar were married and gave birth to a child named Caesarion. Still, Pompey's allies were in the regions of Republic, but they were eliminated one by one. By 49 BC, he became the dictator of Rome for 10 years. In his era, Rome entered in its golden age. Some senators were worried of his hold on power, so in 44 BC he was stabbed to death 23 times by senators in a Senate meeting. His last words were "You too, Brutus," meaning that Caesar's former ally Brutus also conspired against him. After his assassination, Rome was plunged into civil war, but in 27 BC Caesar's nephew Augustus Caesar formed one of the greatest empire known as the Roman Empire. Julius Caesar has frequently appeared in arts and literature work, and his political philosophy has inspired many politicians into the modern era. Please like, share and subscribe this